Husam, what is going on, man? Welcome to the show.
What's up, brother? Appreciate you for having me, man. It's always an honor to do these podcasts coming from where I came from.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, that's a perfect segue for me. We were talking before the show. We've had a few people request you. I
hmm
know we're both East Coast boys, but that's now. That's 2023, right? So, how
Happy
did
New Year's,
you?
by the way.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Literally yesterday, New Year, same me.
Yep,
To be honest, just
true.
woke up and it's just another day.
hmm
Uh, but yeah, how did you get involved in this scene in the first place? Where did the beginnings of the Gym Freak start? How did we get to where we are?
Man, that's a long story, and we got all the time to talk about it,
We
right?
do, we do.
It started. I was back in the day in high school when I first came into. I came to America when I was 11 years old, so I was a fifth grader. Didn't know a bit of English. Hated school. Hated being in America.
Yeah,
I didn't want to be here. I wanted to go back to the Middle East. It was a struggle. I was very athletic though from the get-go. That was kind of my way to communicate to people, understand people was sports. That's all I knew. From there, went to middle school, played football and all that. It was all about, picking sides and stuff. I didn't like that. I always was, as a kid, stood out, and I didn't care about it. I wasn't trying to fit in with the cool kids. I would just do me, sit on my own tables and everything. I was the first kid in the class every time. We used to get 5 minutes. I don't know if that was for you too.
yep, yep,
We get five
yep,
minutes to go from class to class. I use
yep.
60 seconds because I would go and sit down.
Just
you
running
know,
full pace straight through the hallway to get
literally, I
there.
see the hallways, people hanging out, stuff, hello, hello, keep walking. From there, went to high school, started wrestling, and that was kind of my calling. I loved wrestling. I still do. That's kind of that kind of made me grow into the man I am today. And I kind of recommend that sport to anybody that could do it, especially young men. It teaches you so much discipline as a young child because nowadays in this day and age, you don't really have a lot of discipline. You don't have a lot of mental toughness, physical toughness. People are so soft, and a lot of people talk about that nowadays. So I'm going all over the place.
But no,
And then
this is
from
good. This is
high
good, man.
school,
Please.
so sophomore year, I was kind of, getting beat up and stuff. So I was like, man, I need to get stronger. So I started going to the gym with my older brother and uncle. At 14 years old is when I started, sophomore year in high school that summer. And I never stopped since then. So, and I was skipping, every single dance. I never went to no dance in high school. I never went to no prom. I never dated a girl, never asked out a girl. It was all about the sports. It was all about me working out. So people were like, you're a freak, bro. And then I was like thinking about it. I'm like, and I go to the gym and people are like, yeah, you're a gym freak, bro. And I didn't want to do no fitness label, no Husam fitness, anything like that. That was saturated from back in the day, 20 like oh nine, 2009. And so I was like, gym freak it is. And, you know,
We
it's
are.
been gym freak ever since 14 years old.
Yeah. So you came from the Middle East when you were 11. So
Yes.
what? Just family work? Like what brought you to the States?
So we basically, my dad we were in war. I'm from Iraq.
Okay.
That's where we're at. And we migrated in 1997.
Okay.
So 91st, where it was the Iraq versus Kuwait war, and then my dad was trying to migrate. My whole mom's family side left in 91.
Okay.
So they came here, they left. My dad didn't want to leave his mom, and he also has two siblings, my uncle and my aunt. My aunt is blind, and my uncle is disabled. Okay, so he didn't want to just leave them and go, and so he went back. So we all went back with him. I wasn't born yet in 91. And then another war happened, and then they were trying to get in, kind of get my dad in it and trying to get him in jail. And Saddam was trying to come after him. So in 97, my dad was a doctor in the army. So he was also helping everybody. Like my mom's side, we're getting shot up and all these things are happening. Some of my uncles got shot. So my dad was kind of helping them out, keeping them safe. And Saddam didn't like that. So then he came after my dad. Therefore, in 97, we fled the scene. We went to Jordan when I was about 3 years old. So my mom, single mom by herself, because my dad couldn't come with us because he had to run away by himself. So we go to Jordan for a couple of days. My mom's taking care of me, my older sister, and my older brother. And then we have no phones, no communication, no nothing. So I don't know what happened to my dad. We get to Jordan. From there, we go to Syria. I was 3 years old. We stayed in Syria for 8 years trying to get our immigration papers. And every time they would almost get successful, something would pop up. And then eventually we got them in 2002. And then the war between USA and Iraq happened. So they paused it again. you know. And so basically, we couldn't come in 2002, and then the war happened. All those things happened. My dad was like, "All right, we're not meant to go to America. Our immigration papers don't want to go through." In 2005, we're starting to sell our stuff to go back, and our immigration papers came out,
Wow.
and we came to America in 2005.
Wow.
Yep.
Holy smokes. Wow. Dude,
Yeah.
what a beginning. I mean, and so I mean I've seen kind of as I've followed you over the last little bit, I mean, your big thing is gratitude, you know, just
Hmm.
recognizing the blessings you've been given. And I mean,
Yeah.
to have journeyed through that as a child, like
Oh yeah.
how has that shaped just even your own mindset about where you're at now?
I mean, when you look at it, the Middle East, the Arabic culture was a very different culture, right? So
Mm,
when we were younger, we weren't allowed to tell our parents like we have issues, we're struggling, we're scared, you know, we're having mental instabilities, you know what I mean? And as a kid, you're just battling yourself because
mm,
you think there's something wrong with you because we grew up in the time where get your ass up, you're good to go. Come on, stop
right.
crying, let's go. You got to get this done. So we were all the ways in this mentality, but now when I sit with my father and stuff, and my father, you know, he's a doctor, so he's a very aware of everything. And when we talk, he's like, "Man, it's nice to see like the struggles you guys went through because as a kid, going from the first country to the second country, starting all over again, building new friendships, like coming to this country, not speaking English." You know, people called me monkey. They made fun of my English, boater, all this stuff, and I don't understand any of it. You know, so you had to develop your own kind of wall to protect yourself, right? And I couldn't go to my dad and be like, "Yo, dad, I'm struggling, you know, mom, I'm struggling," because they wouldn't understand. They're also developing and trying to understand this country as well. You know what I mean? So it was tough to not have those things in life, but it also teaches you so many things. And like a lot of people say that learn from things they go through, you know, you can use things in a positive way or you can use them in a negative way. And I just got lucky and used them in a positive way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, praise God for that. That's amazing.
Yes, yes, sir.
So you start with football. Obviously, it sounds like that didn't stick for too long. You shifted over to wrestling.
I was really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of walk me through that. So a little bit of my backstory. I grew up overseas. So I was born
Okay.
in the States. My parents were missionaries. So I grew up in Dublin, Ireland.
Oh, nice.
And so I moved over when I was 12 and was there for middle school and high school. Not as severe of a culture shock. It's still, you know, Western
Yeah.
world. But
Yeah.
nonetheless, you're 12, you go to another culture. It is what it is, right? Like it's
Hmm.
still a different world. So
Oh yeah.
I missed out. Ironic, I'm a big dude. I missed out on my opportunity to play football because I didn't come back till college. But I played a little bit at rugby scene. I did that through middle school and then as I moved into high school, I started doing a little bit of CrossFit and I realized there was way too much cardio going on. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And so I shifted over to more of just a weightlifting, powerlifting scene. So kind of similar timeline as far as me
Hmm.
figuring things out. So yeah, I'm curious, what was the American football experience like for you in middle school?
It was fun because I was nobody again. You know, in middle
Yeah.
school, nobody knew me, so I was that kid that nobody knew, but I would still lay out kids. You know,
Hmm.
I was the second stringer, so they would put me in versus the first stringers, and I'm over here middle linebacker laying out these running backs and stuff, and it's like they're all like, "Who's this?" They started calling me by my number, and then he's like 55. That was my like practice number. And he's like, you know, "What's your name? I'm gonna call you by your name because you deserve to be called by your name." I still remember that day.
Mm.
So people start to respect you more. It was fun. It was totally fun, but also again, my mother was very protective. I don't want you getting a concussion. I don't want you hurting yourself, breaking your nose, you know. So I
Yeah.
had to pull out after eighth grade.
Yeah, there is that mindset. My mom was also very protective. You know, she's
Hmm.
like, oh, I don't want my baby boy to get hurt, kind of thing. You
Exactly.
know,
Exactly.
and so naturally, of course, we chose a sport that puts hundreds of pounds, you know, on our bodies. So yeah, we'll
Right.
put our lives in our own hands. You know, so you shift into wrestling, and it sounds like that really shaped a lot of kind of your mindset towards
Hmm.
athletics. I wonder if
Yes.
you could just talk a little bit about that. What was it about wrestling that really pushed you, you know, out of the football thing, out of the hey, I'm learning American, figuring all this out. I'm going into wrestling. I'm just going to start beating the hell out of people on a
Hmm.
mat, and that's kind of been the driving point. I wonder if you can chat about that a little.
Man, there's a lot of things I can go into with this one because wrestling totally grew me into the man who I am today. Because
Mm,
the fun thing about wrestling compared to other sports is it's a 1v1, right?
yeah.
It's always on you. at the end of the day. Making weight is on you, getting the practicing is on you. You know, how much you put in is literally how much you get out, right? And that's what I loved about it. I didn't have to depend on anybody. It was me. So I didn't like getting my ass kicked when I first started, you know. And as a kid, you have an ego. You have this, you know, I'm a tough kid kind of mentality. And I'm getting my ass beat as a freshman. I'm like, this ain't gonna happen no more, you know. And so I started putting in the work, and I started to realize the more work that I put in, the better I'm getting. The more disciplined I'm becoming, the more, you know, drive I'm having towards getting better and better. And the result is showing up. And, you know, by my junior year, I was ranked in the state. You know, I won a couple regionals. You know, senior year, I had an injury, but I was still team captain, still went to states. So all these things were phenomenal for me. Loved Greco. That was where I went to states, Greco and Roman.
Right.
So.
Yeah, you know, I think combat sports in general
Mm-hmm.
are something that I think there's almost the most arrogance about people who like don't do it. Like people
True.
that don't do combat sports are like, oh yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
dude, throw me in the octagon, throw me in the ring, like whatever. Like and so like I think we've even seen like in the last couple years with like boxing and
Yep.
everything, every single person's like, yeah, I could be a boxer. You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
where I do think there is so much discipline and there is so much technique and skill required that I think people don't realize it's not just brute force.
No.
You know,
No.
it's the polar opposite. I've had very minimal exposure to wrestling other than, you know, teaching basic moves at a summer camp during college.
Okay.
But even in that, you know, there is, you know, I would get the kids who would show up and be like, yeah, man, like I got this. Be like, all right, dude, like square up. And they'd be like, no, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, no, like I don't. I'm like, no, 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 like you got, like go ahead, like square up, like do whatever, like do this move on me. They'll be like, I can't. I'm like, okay, like sit
Yeah.
down. Like, go
A
back to
lot
sit
of a
down.
lot of people think things are easy, but you know, I totally think wrestling is one of the toughest sports in the world.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
and it
and I feel like how quickly you get gassed out doing it. It's tiring.
our warm ups were 11 miles.
Oh,
That's before we start wrestling, and then we do Shark Tank. So Shark Tank is where you have one person in the middle, and you have everybody coming at you. So somebody comes at you, you take whoever gets the first takedown, you get out. Second person comes in, you get no break for 5 minutes. You're the
oh,
shark, and everybody's attacking you. You know, so a
the
lot of things in
stamina for
wrestling.
that. Oh
Yeah,
man.
that's why when people are like, "How are you in such ease with powerlifting, loading that much weight?" I'm like, "Bro, I've done some hard things in wrestling where I didn't want to do as a child, bro." To me, thinking like me right now, I'm 28 years old. I'm a grown man.
Right.
If I can't control my mindset and my mentality and my aggression, I'm lost, right? But as a 16-year-old, 15-year-old kid who is lost, a teenager, knowing how to control all of that, I give myself a props. Like a lot of people, you know, say that I wish I can go back to when I was a kid to let them know how great I'm doing. No, I'm right here at this age. I want to tell my young self how great he's doing. You know, it's the opposite for me.
No, 100%, man. I mean, yeah, like I think back to, you know, 15, 16 years old. I was skinny in high school. I was
Mm-hmm.
a small little dude in high school. I probably graduated a buck 75. And then at my heaviest in competition, I was up at the 308s. So there's a dramatic
Gee,
jump between
that's
high
that's
school and now. Now,
that's a
given
big jump.
I'm not 308 anymore, but in college at least. But I do play back when I first started lifting,
Mm-hmm.
15, 16. The only time that we were allowed to lift before school was at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And, you know, Ireland is so far north that the days are really, really short. So it's
Mm-hmm.
dark until, you know, 8 a.m. and it's getting dark again at 4 p.m. So I'm having to wake up at 16 years old. It's freezing, you know, and I'm wearing my sweatpants and my
Mm-hmm.
hoodie and everything and just going in an empty gym. And I mean, bench pressing, what, 100 for some reps, you know, but I was like,
Yep.
I'm in here, I'm working, you know,
Oh yeah.
and so frequently I have to look back, and even now, because every once in a while, you know how it is. You're like, oh, I
Oh
can't
yeah.
believe I'm still only lifting blank, you know?
Yep. Yep.
And you're like, dude, like 10 years ago, I wouldn't have even thought that this was possible. You know, I
True.
would never, even looking now, the fact that I'm blessed enough to be able to do this show, that I've been able to chat with as many role models and heroes and people as I have is surreal. 15-year-old Moses would have been like,
Mm-hmm.
we're, we have a podcast? Like we're doing,
Yeah.
you know, and so it is having to
Facts.
remember that it's you. It's always been you, right? Like I don't need to go
Yeah.
back and tell anybody. Like I just need to be like, Moses,
Mm.
just keep going, man. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
get there.
I totally get that, man. Sometimes I'd be driving and I just start crying,
Yeah.
and people are like, "Oh, you're not emotional. You're always aggressive." I'm like, bro, y'all don't see that side. Not many people show that side. They no need to show that side, right? That's within yourself sometimes, and you go through emotions because you're like, man, I'm doing this. Like, yes, I'm hard on myself, and I went through this, but for me, as a kid from a village that people don't even know where it's from, right? It doesn't even exist in many people's worlds, right? And other than mine and my family's, it's not non-existent to these people. They don't know where Nasriya is. You get what I'm saying? So for me to come here and now Husam the gym freak is this guy that everybody loves and admires, I'm like, this is insane. Like it doesn't process through my head sometimes. You know what I mean?
100%. And
So,
'cause I know you've also got the American Pro coming up again,
mhm.
the second one. So
Yeah.
you were the MC at the first one. I know the
Yep.
second one tickets are going live here at 3 o'clock, right? So
They already went live yesterday.
oh, they're already live. They're
Yep,
already
yep.
live. So
Yep.
guys, if you're listening to this, if they're not already sold out, go ahead and go get you some tickets.
Get you some. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, you've got like there's got to be some semblance to be on top of the world in that regard. Like the trust to be really the face, the spokesperson for that big of a show. Yeah, what can people expect from this second round? Maybe that they didn't even get the first one.
Honestly, it's going to be a show, and I'm excited for that one. I do got my first meet in February, the Ghost Clash, but I'm excited for the American Pro because I feel like I'm kind of growing with it. I'm a part of it. So to let them, like Micah, who's a very, likes to be in control of everything, and Anna to let me have the spotlight and control the whole meet is just makes me speechless. And I'm competing Saturday, and then I'm announcing Sunday. So.
Wow.
I'm hoping to break a record on Saturday and then, go have fun on Sunday.
100%.
So.
I mean, it's just what an opportunity. Just one of the things that's been really cool in the last few years has been observing the sport grow. Really in the last 10 years ago, nobody knew what powerlifting was except for people in powerlifting. And then it was just a bunch of dudes. I don't know if you ever followed Bro Science on YouTube back in the day, where he was like, powerlifters are the dudes just like playing bloody knuckles in the corner of the cafeteria. Like that's what it was. And now it's becoming more of a mainstream thing. Part of that I feel like has actually been TikTok. Of watching guys just like randomly post stuff and it going viral, and people being like, "Wow, I wish I could do that." But having stuff like this, having competitions and meets like this that are for big money, that are being televised, that we're selling tables at, anything that can make a meet that's 9 hours long interesting is a win.
I agree. I mean, there's so many things going into this meet, and you can tell there are certain people that are doing it the right way and changing the game. There are still people that are still doing the same old stuff that are not coming with the times, but eventually they're going to have to because they're going to see nobody's doing their meets. Everybody's doing the bigger meets, and everybody's talking about the American Pro, and it deserves to be talked about, especially with how they went out last year and how they did the meet and the way it was ran and the perfection and the HD live. Like my parents were watching here and they're like, "Oh my God, you're on TV and this and that." And it's like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. Oh, I'm pumped. I'm excited. I'm excited for the energy to kind of get ramped up. I'm chatting with Micah here in a couple episodes, so I'll be eager to get his take as it starts ramping up and as we get closer to that. Well, so kind of shifting topics a little bit here. I know we kind of briefly touched on it, but just kind of as we kind of discussed your backstory and how you've come to where you are now.
Yeah.
Just that theme of gratitude, that theme of just I'm blessed. How has that shaped just even like you as a person as you interact with athletes that may be newer to the sport or people that are trying to get into it, or the guys that may be hitting your DMs are like, "Hey man, like I did it, whatever." Like, how has that just even shaped your worldview now as you go about real life outside of powerlifting as well?
Honestly, bro, like there's a lot of things you could be grateful for when you think about it, right? So for me, I would say this past year was probably one of my best years to date, and I'm humble and appreciative of it because of all the ups and downs I went through, and it teaches you more. I was already like very grateful before that, but I hit some walls where I'm like, man, like life doesn't just want to come my way. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So I still push through it, and basically, having to be able to do nursing school while still, at 27 years old, when I was 27, asking for your dad to help you out is not easy.
yep.
You know,
Yep.
especially when you grew up in a time where you start making your own money at 18,
Right.
17, and now you're 27, grown man. You got to be like, yo, pops, I'm broke right now, and that was never easy for me to do. But knowing I have my parents in my back kind of, always teaches you that you're never alone in this world, bro. And you can reach out to people. You can reach out to people that love you, even though sometimes you don't feel like you're loved, which I always feel like I'm loved by everybody, honestly. That you reach out and people would help you out, man. And that taught me so many things. And I'm grateful for it. Finished nursing school. Now I got a great job, so I'm humbled by it. I work as a nurse on my normal days, and then on my side gig, I power lift and lift some heavy weights. And life is great, bro. You cannot be not thankful. I got a house over my head, drink water every day. I eat food. I got clothes on. I ain't cold. There's people freezing in New York, Buffalo right now.
Yep.
People died because of the snow, because of electricity. So, like, there's so many things you can sit here and talk. I can write a book of all the things I'm grateful for.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, I mean it's powerful. There has been just, I mean, decades of just some kind of push where people are like, "Hey, men just need to figure their own shit out."
Hmm.
They're especially men. If a woman's 27, she's like, "Hey, dad needs some help." Whatever, cool, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like it's like expected. But
Yeah.
if a man has to ask for help, it's like, well, what's wrong
Hmm.
with them?
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
why are you as a man, not figuring everything out on your own? And
Hmm.
so I've so greatly appreciated, really in the last year, I think the mainstream shift in guys, especially guys with platforms like
Hmm.
yourself, being able to speak up. They know, guys, like no man is supposed to be an island. Like it's about having a
No.
community, and it's about
Hmm.
supporting the community and being supported by the community.
Exactly. Exactly. It's never easy, bro. It's never easy. But again, like you said, it's about knowing who you are, being okay with sometimes struggling because it's not easy, but it's okay. I know for a fact that now I got a stable job. I'm doing what I want to do, being able to start a clothing brand and pushing that. I know I'm gonna be able to help my dad. My dad is not worried ever for the rest of his life that I will take care of him no matter what. And that's why he didn't mind helping me, taking care of me. And that's what true family is about. I cannot
Oh,
hear you if you can. Oh, there you go.
oh
Your
yeah,
voice is
yeah,
back.
I'm right here.
Okay.
I was probably just mumbling away from the mic here for a second. So, we're also, it's the beginning of a new year, right?
Hmm.
It's 2023. I've never been one for New Year's resolutions. So I'm like, just do whatever it is that you're gonna do. But nonetheless, we are in the season of New Year's resolutions, right?
Yes.
Gyms are full again, at least for the
Hmm.
next couple of weeks. There are
True.
plenty of people who are pushing to start a new habit. Some of them might fall off, but some of them are going to stick. What are, for anyone that's listening or just the people in your life, what
Hmm.
are some of the things that you've observed that have helped make some of those more healthy habits stick as people start to try to shift how they live, whether nutrition wise, sleep, training, stuff like that? How can people manage to make that roll out more than just a couple weeks out of the year?
Honestly, I would say you are who you hang around. And if
Mm,
you're hanging around people who love to party and drink and not really care about what they eat and what they do, you are not gonna really last in your New Year's resolution. And you're gonna go back to doing what they're doing, right? But for me, my circle, like for example, is we're all grinding. We're all trying to, make it every day. We're all trying to get better as humans, as siblings, as husbands, whatever the case is, sons, and improve as mentally, physically as possible, right? And consistency is the easiest way you can explain it. Things are simple, man. People complicate things. When you complicate things, they become harder. I always say life is simple because when you make things simple, it's easier to go about your day. When you look at it, you just got to wake up. You just got to eat a meal. You just got to get to the gym. It's as simple as that. We got cars. It's not that hard. Keep it simple, keep it moving.
yeah. Yeah. My old nutrition coach, her whole thing was keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not gonna rag on anybody who's making their business off of selling stuff. If you can manage to sell people stuff, by all means, like
Go
do
go
do
for
your thing. Yeah,
it.
make your money.
Go for it.
But it is really simple. you know.
Hmm.
And I do feel for, I saw this guy on TikTok posted something a few weeks ago about Planet Fitness,
Hmm.
and he was just ragging on the people that were at Planet Fitness. And I
Yeah.
like stitched it, and I was like, "Look, dude, like I hate Planet Fitness just as much as the next guy, but like because
Hmm.
they're a corporation, like not because of the people that are in it. Like every single one of us walked into the gym for the first time, you
True.
know. Every single one of us didn't know what we were doing with a bar on our back, or
Yeah.
we were picking up a bar on the deadlift and immediately hurt our lower back. Like all of us have like done
Yeah.
the things wrong, and but at the end of the day, like powerlifting, bodybuilding, CrossFit, any of the strength disciplines were
Hmm.
meant to be inclusive. I,
True.
I really firmly believe that anyone who can lift a barbell should,
I agree.
because that's how I felt welcome. That's how I found who I was. It's how
Hmm.
a lot of people have. And I think one of the things that I wish I would see more of, especially from like these young guys, not that like either of us are in like our 40s, but like
Uh,
the dudes in high school, who are blowing up, is a little bit more of that attitude of, hey, like everybody else has to start too, you
yep.
know?
That's the thing. Like I was talking to one of my boys, and I don't want to drop names or anything, even though I don't really care. But I don't want to put his business out there.
Sure, sure.
I put my business out there. But yeah, we were talking because we're trying to collab certain things, with my brand and the brand he's got going on. And some young guy reached out to him and was basically, like, you guys want to sponsor me and I could, take you guys far and stuff. And when they said we'll let you know, he literally got upset and was like, "Oh, never mind."
Mm,
People are so entitled now that are young just because they have a big following. And
mm.
it's not about no, it's not really about a big following, it's about your character. It's about who you are as a human. Instagram can be deleted right now. What are you? You get what I'm saying? When social media is done deleted at the end of the day and you ask them that question, who are you? What are they gonna say? All these young influencers, right? You get what I'm saying? So, but you got those smart ones as well that are growing companies and stuff like that. Those ones I give them props. But the ones that are doing it the wrong way, eventually you'll burn out. Eventually your time comes to an end, right? There's a new somebody upcoming that's gonna come and take over your spot, just like how you took over somebody else's spot. You know what I mean? So a flooded industry is not gonna be flooded that much when you keep having people coming up and you gotta make ways for those new ones coming up.
Well,
So
the top of the pyramid can't have too many people at top,
exactly.
I think of like hybrid.
Hmm.
Hybrids 4 or 5 years ago was it.
was was the show.
You know, I
Hmm.
was part of the beta testing group for that. Like I was there at the jump. Like I remember when that was the thing. And
Yep.
now Steffi's off boxing. She's just doing her
Yep.
thing.
Hmm.
Hayden's wandering around somewhere in Canada lifting weights.
True.
Great for both of them. But hybrid isn't it anymore. Alex is off doing
No.
Go Strong. Other things have to develop.
Life changes.
And I think like the push of social media in the last few years has made everything so short-term focused that
Hmm.
people forget that like 2 years isn't the end game here,
No.
for anything. Like you have to establish yourself outside with it. That's great. You got 70,000 followers. Congrats. That's awesome. Like
Yeah.
fantastic. Like you said, Instagram could just go. Elon Musk could just go buy another social media platform and tank it. Like
Yeah.
who knows?
Exactly. Exactly.
My
I
gosh.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's the world that you'd think that I would have a better idea of as someone in my
Hmm.
20s. I just don't. Like, I just don't care, because at the end of the day, we realize, like, it's these interactions, right?
Yep.
It's the guys who you can walk up to the gym and have a normal conversation with that matter.
Yeah. I agree. And speaking of, like you were saying, Planet Fitness, people hanging on Planet Fitness and stuff like that. When you think about, the NFL, if you had every single football player just playing in the NFL, would that be fun to watch?
Mm-mm.
Not really. If you had every single lifter come to our powerlifting gyms, you think we would have good workouts and be who we are? No, it would be over infested. We would be looking at what are these people doing? So you need our stepping stones. It's like the NBA. You have college, you have, the under leagues, the minor leagues, all these things, where you have people coming up slowly. And that's how people grow. Imagine you had all these people not knowing what they're doing
Oh
at
my
your
gosh.
powerlifting gym. It would be a
Oh,
mess.
it would be a mess. Well, and that's the thing. Like, people are designed for different types of
Mm-hmm.
gyms. There's a reason that there's different types of gyms, you
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
that even if Plant Fitness isn't your jump, say Gold's Gym or Anytime or something like that is where you start out, right? Some guys are going to want to push towards Olympic weightlifting, right? They see someone like Wes Kitts throwing and snatching, 500 pounds. They're like, oh, that sounds great. And they're going to go towards a Cal Strength type gym.
Yep.
Maybe they're going to see, a CrossFitter in the back doing something ungodly where you're like, I don't even know that it's humanly possible. I want to try it.
True.
Like there's offshoots, right? Like I think of my gym, I train out of DMV Iron, and I was literally talking to a couple guys. They did an open house yesterday, and I was in the posing room after my workout, and there's these two young high school dudes that were in there, and they're like, "Hey, man, like like they always like look nervous." And like I'm not a
Yeah.
big dude. Like I just like in size am big. I'm not like a big
Yeah.
personality. They're like, "You a member here?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. Like you guys should join." And then we had like a 5-minute conversation in there,
Uh-huh.
and for both of them, their whole things are like, "Wow, like someone in this gym is talking to us." And I was like, in my head, I'm like, well, of course I am. Like, I'm just like in the gym. But like, I had to like go back to being in high school, and I was like, oh wow, like there's this grown man at this specialty gym that's talking to me right now. Like
Yeah.
getting outside of our own heads and realizing that like everyone else in the world has a cognizant mind is significant.
True. I agree. I've had all these interactions happen, honestly, and then always people are like, "Man, you're so nice." After they talk to me, one of the incidents I had my last prep, I had my heaviest squat, so I usually use most of the red plates, So I needed 7 reds on each side. I was going for 838, and so I was loading them up, and then this girl was like, scared to ask me, like, "Hey, can we share?" And she was asking the guy next to me to tell me, and I heard her because I didn't have my headphones on. I'm like, "Yeah, you can take whatever you want." And she's like, "You sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, we can go back and forth. We share. I don't mind at all." And she was so blown away because I was the bigger guy, and she just assumed I'm an a-hole. Are we allowed to cuss here?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. She thought I was an asshole. So like, I'm like, "No, not at all." She was so like blown away. She's like, "I really thought you're mean and this and that." And now when they see me at the gym, every single person always says hi to me because I'm just, I like to make them realize that it doesn't mean that just because you're big, you're mean. Usually our bigger guys are like teddy bears. We're super nice. But when I was younger, I'll tell you this, and I used to go to the gyms, the bigger guys used to be assholes, bro. In our age, when we were 16, 17, you better get the hell out of my way, son.
Yep.
That was the way it is. If I want to use this machine, you get off, So like I always was like, if I ever get older and I become that tough guy in the gym or stronger or a big guy, I never would treat these youngers like that. I try to give them advice, help them out. Even though sometimes they do wrong forms, I'll go teach them and stuff, let them know like, yo, if you want to learn, I can give you advice. If you don't, I'll mind my business. And most of the time they want to learn,
Yeah. Well, it was that old school, old lifters, like that West Side mentality, right? Of get out. Like if you're not here PRing, like get out of the gym.
Yeah.
You think of like Captain Kirk, where he's like, hey, if you're in my squat rack in 5 minutes, I'm throwing a 45-pound plate at your head. Like that, that mindset has shifted, which is good because it's made it more accessible. As much as I still love that hardcore, like, oh, I'm gonna sleep in my car, and all my trend needles are in the back seat. Where it's like, okay, like anything is right there. Like, of also being able to recognize that being human is still pretty cool. Actually for reacting and behaving like you're a human being goes a long way, because eventually, you aren't going to be able to lift like you can now. Take a look at Ronnie. Ronnie at this point is on crutches. He's having to take painkiller, but like he doesn't regret it, because even at his peak, I don't know if you watched that interview on his podcast. They said, hey, if you could do one thing different, he goes, I wish I had squatted 800 for 5. Like that was his bit. He was like, I should just squat, but like because everything was so positive, everything was so community. Now 30 years later, like, man, I'm just glad to still be here. As opposed to, someone else who may have been a little bit more, it's just me against the world, who now is still me against the world, but not an impressive lifter anymore.
True. I agree. And that's where, like, I feel like I grew that mentality from wrestling, is that self-aggression, self-control, because when I was young and angry, I would lose myself and do dumb mistakes. So I realized as I got older, the more controlled I am, the more ease I am with my brain and actually processing what's going on, the better I'll become at it. You know, whatever it is. It's not only lifting that I'm talking about. It's honestly school, life, everything. You know, the more calm, the more collective you are in your head, the more you can think logically and not emotionally, you know?
Well, so one of the things I've been really excited to chat about has been this question of faith. You know, I
Hmm.
know that that plays a real role in your life and your training, your mentality. Of course, coming from Iraq and coming from the Middle East, you know, faith is a big part of culture. You know,
Yeah.
it's a real driving factor. So as you've developed and grown, you know, on the Western side of the world as well,
Hmm.
combining those two cultures, you know, with your own faith, what does that look like, and what's the impact that that's had on your training and just your worldview in general?
Honestly, talking about faith, you know, I am a Muslim. You know, I am not the greatest one, obviously. I don't think I
Sure.
am the greatest human as well, but I try my best as a human to not hurt no human, you know, and be the best practicing Muslim I could be, right? And I just wanted to show people that it's not bad or embarrassing to show your faith, to show your religion, to show what you believe in, especially in this day and age where people want to cancel everybody out, right?
Mm.
To me is at the end of the day you got to stay true to yourself, you know. And in any country you go to, whether it's Western, Eastern, you know, Middle East, whatever it is, you will have the bad and the good, right? And the cultures. And what I've learned here, you could either learn from the bad or learn from the good. And then I developed the good traits in this culture because there are so many good culture traits in America, you know, from learning how to become independent, learning how to, you know, strive for things that you want to get to, learning that there's no limitation in life. You
Mm.
know, you actually, whatever you set your mind to, you can achieve while still being able to believe in your culture, have the freedom to make your own choices, you know, to still be a family person. You know,
Mm.
when I was younger, I thought I needed to like go live on my own and be on my own shit and just leave me alone, dad and mom. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, you know, we're all together. I'm always talking to my dad of what we should do, how we should grow, what business we should open, all these things, you know.
Mm.
And all that taught me, I learned from this culture, you know, because in the Middle Eastern culture is you follow your dad's steps, you take over what your dad's doing, you know, and you carry the name of the family, and that's all that matters, you know. But
Mm.
when you come to this culture, is it's about yourself. It's about the people you love around you and not everybody outside. And that's the difference
Mm.
between cultures, you know, from back home and back here. And that's kind
Yeah.
of what I've merged all together.
Wow. Yeah. So my immediate follow up that actually I've been wanting to ask here for a little bit. When you first came to the U.S.,
Hmm.
what were some of the most stark, like, cultural things you're like, I can't, like, this is normal? Like, what were some of those, like, initial culture shock things for you
When
that
I
you
was a
kind of,
kid, it was totally the kids talking to their parents.
yeah.
You know, telling their parents to shut up and yell at them. I'm like, oh no, no, no. I would, I would get the hand. Like, what's going on here? You know, or cuss, bro. People cuss. Like, I'm 28 years old. My dad has never heard me cuss.
Right.
I don't say fuck word in front of my dad. I don't say
Right.
any word. Not in English,
Right.
not in Arabic, bro.
Right.
And I don't dare, and I don't raise my voice high when I'm around my dad. When I see sometimes people like talking to their dad, and I'm like, "Fuck you, dad," and I'm like, what is going on here, bro? Like, that's your father, bro.
Right.
You
Right.
know, so those things always catch me off guard, you know.
Yeah.
The respect factor.
Oh my gosh. Well, so I'm from the South, right? So the
Hmm.
South, like, it's the same deal. Like, you don't say anything to your parents.
Hmm.
Like, you're gonna get the belt. You know, like my
Yeah.
parents' big thing was they had like a pizza paddle spoon. I come from an Italian family, and so they had the this big, you know, pizza thing that you'd shoveled out of the ovens with. And
Hmm.
like, yeah, if I misspoke, to be like, all right, like, bend over, bro. Like, going with this. So
It's
I've
not
learned
fun.
it's funny, you know, as an adult, of how my relationship with my parents shifts, you know, of it going, obviously it will always be parent and child, but
Yeah.
of it still being adult and adult, you know, of
Hmm.
that shift. And it takes people a few years, you know, to get used to that. I
Yep.
remember when I got my first tattoo, my mom was like, she wasn't mad, she was like crying,
Uh,
like, please don't get another one, like, please don't
oh
get
man,
another one.
that
And
sounds
so I was
like my
like,
mom.
oh, So then, I wait a couple of years. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let her get over it. Because the first one, I think I was 20, so I wait a few years, get another one, and I sent her a picture, and it took her a week to respond. And then she's like,
wow.
okay, it looks good. And now, like, she's like, oh, that actually does look great. But like, of how the parent and the child both have to adjust to, all right, this is my kid. Like, I did what I needed to do. Like, I did my job. They're out of the house. Like, they'll figure it out. But yes, that whole, I would never cuss out my parents. I would be terrified of their wrath.
It's funny you talked about the tattoos. My mom's reaction is the same way. Yeah. Every single time. I have a whole leg sleeve now, and my mom is still like, "It's your last one, right?" I'm like, sure.
Too late now, yeah.
Right? I'm filled with them.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
It's that semblance of control, right? They're like, okay, well, you're done now, so like it's okay. Like we can hold here. You're like, nah. Yeah. To be honest, I'm probably get another one. Yeah.
Couple more.
I think I had this conversation with Travis, which obviously like every inch of that man's body. And I think it was right after he got the headpiece done, and he was like, yeah, man, like. At this point, like, I don't think there's anything left. Like, I might as well go ahead and get my dick tattooed at this point. And I was like, I mean, for sure, man. Like, you do what you got to do, but, like, please don't post that on Instagram.
And that's the joke my dad always says whenever I come with a new tattoo. He's like, why don't you just get your head tattooed, huh? And I'm like, you want me to? He's like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. I was like, that's hilarious.
Well, especially in the last few years, like that's shifted a lot. Like I think the mindset around the stigma around tattoos, when we were kids, it was like, oh, if you get a tattoo and anybody can see it, you ain't getting a job. Yeah. And now it's like, you don't have tattoos, like you're not getting a job. It's what makes you look accessible. I
used to cover my tattoos.
Really?
Yeah. When I first started nursing school, I have so my arm from here to here. I used to wear a white sleeve to cover it, and now I don't wear anything.
Wow. Did the school require it, or it was just you mentally?
Yeah, it was a Catholic school, so they required it.
Okay, yeah, that lines up.
Yep. So they're like, you got to cover it. I'm like, sure. Now nobody says anything. Patients are always like, man, your tattoos are dope. I'm like, y'all should see my leg tattoos. Those are the dope ones.
You're like, hey, let me take my pants off real fast. Check out
that would be an issue. I did that when I first I just got a tattoo for my birthday. My birthday was like 7-8 days ago. So I got a gorilla with like a bunch of stuff around it. I love gorillas. And we were at the bar with my friends. We're playing pool. It's a pool bar. And we're playing pool. And my boys were all like, man, we want to see your tattoo. And I'm like, you guys do? They're like, yeah. I just dropped my pants. I'm like, here y'all go. Y'all like it? They were like, you're crazy. I'm like, I mean, I wear a singlet to lift weights. I wrestled in a singlet. Like,
doesn't bother me.
Yeah, like it's Gucci. You know? I'm a wild one.
With my aunt, maybe a few months ago, she was commenting so like I said, my top weight class, I compete in the 308s. I'm working my way back down. I'm down to 240 right now. And as I've gotten lighter, I started posting with less clothing on, right? Because I'm just getting adjusted to it. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I can be a little bit more slutty, with my Instagram posts. So she makes a comment. She was like, Moses, like, do I need to like unfollow you on Instagram? I was like, hey man, you do whatever you want. Like, I'm mad comfortable with this. Like, it's gonna get worse before it gets better for you guys. Like, that's where I talk, because I'm just gonna keep you more,
I remember those days.
Yep.
That's funny because when I started, I used to always be, shirtless and all that. And when I first started powerlifting, not many people used to do shirtless stuff. Because I came from a bodybuilding background and came into the powerlifting world, I didn't care. I'm like, I don't want to wear a shirt today. So I would just take it off, Exactly. And now it's like everybody does it. So now I just don't do it anymore.
Oh, yeah, it became cool.
Yeah, it became like everybody. I'm like,
Well, it became cool for like all the dudes like under 150 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's all like the light. Nobody's seen the thick boys, out here shirtless,
No.
I remember I was training a couple years ago, and it was like 100-something degrees in the gym. I'm sweating bullets. I was like, I'm not wearing a shirt. And one of the guys came over. He's like, "Wow, man, you got a real boiler there, huh?" And I was like, "All right, dude. Like, I get it. Like, I put my shirt back on." He's like, "No, take it off."
Let me live, bro. Let me live.
Like, dude, look, let me just deadlift, bro. Like, I don't do.
Sometimes it's comfortable, bro.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I agree.
100%. Our gym right now doesn't have so when it's hot, it's hot. You're
Yeah,
just
same.
stripping off layers. It's just
We
you
have
got it.
fans in the corner here.
Yep. The industrial fans up in the corners that aren't
Yep.
helping with anything unless you're directly in front of it.
Bro, it's so tough working out in the summer. You're sweating your ass off. You're cramping everywhere. I'm like, bro, this ain't easy.
You're literally just having to like coat your back in chalk because
Mm.
it's the only way the bar doesn't just slip right off.
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
dude,
It's horrible.
I'm not looking forward to. I'm enjoying it being still like somewhat cold, so that I can just enjoy training here for a few months before. Yeah, it is just.
I like the 50s to 65s.
Yeah.
I feel like that's perfect training weather.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one of the last big questions I got for you, and it's the classic. This is called Faith, Fitness, and French Toast. I'm a big foodie, right? Only way I was ever going to get over 300 pounds is I had to be a big foodie, right? So breakfast in general for me is major. My question for you is one breakfast food above all else. It could be anything. What is it and why?
Damn, that's a tough one. I got a couple. I can only choose one?
I'll let you go with both. We'll bend the rules a little bit here.
Well, I do love French toast.
Okay, that's a cop-out answer, but for sure,
I can eat French toast every single day.
Yeah.
You know, but there is a thing called a manwich.
A manwich?
It's an Arabic thing. So it's called a manouche in Arabic. So it's kind of like a cheese pie, and it's made with dough and bread, and then they put cheese on it. And then they turned that cheese pie into a sandwich. So they merged the words together, manouche and sandwich, manwich. You get it?
Oh yeah, I'm with
and
you.
what they put in it is they put like lettuce, tomatoes, and then they do turkey bacon.
Yep.
And then there's another one that's called the sujuk. That one is like a different type of beef meat.
Okay.
And it's just phenomenal. I can eat that every day. I'm craving it now that I'm talking about it.
Man, it's like I'm getting my car. I'm gonna go find somewhere to get one. So
I'm gonna go get that as a pre-workout right now.
So yeah, so is there an Arabic store nearby that or a restaurant nearby that you go and get?
It's called King's Bakery.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so is that the best manwich you've had? Is that at King's Bakery or is that going to be back home?
Well, no, that's here. They don't make that back home. They created that in that place.
Whoa, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they created it in that place. They usually don't do that. They usually mix like cheese with meat. So they'll do like a cheese with meat pie. So they'll put meat, cook it, and put cheese on top of it. You know, okay. And then it's like about like this big and it's round, so they close it in half.
Right.
So like when you pull it, it's like I gotta send you a video of it.
Yeah. When you're on your way to the gym, you order one. Just send me a video of it.
I'm like, this is what it looks like.
It's great. Up north to go get one. Yeah.
That's my Arabic one. If I go English, I would go American. I would do French toast with gyros skillet.
Okay. I can live.
Yeah.
I can live with that.
That's also down the street.
Everything. Well, hey, that means you're living in the right place.
I know. That's why I moved back here. Bro, the funniest questions I get on the gram is, what's your macros and how do you eat? And I'm just like, bro, I don't track macros and I eat whatever is in sight.
Yep.
Like I don't have a restriction. I eat to lift. That's what I always tell people. I eat to get powerful. Like, so if I'm hungry to eat a burger, I'm going to give myself a burger, you know? When I'm eating breakfast, I try to get as much carbs as I can. That's kind of my energy source before working out. So if I only have eggs for breakfast, I'm going to feel like shit working out, you know? So I need bread. I need stuff like that. My muffins, you know, how it goes. But
yeah, no,
that's into the muffins all the time. So.
I'm not I don't have a huge like sweet tooth, but like baked goods, it's over for me. Like you
got to come to Michigan then.
Dude, I'm telling you, so I'm a big Trader Joe's guy. That's where I do all my shopping, right?
Okay.
So Trader Joe's, here's the thing. When you go to Trader Joe's, you go in, you're like, I'm going to get a loaf of bread, milk, whatever. Then suddenly you see about 27 different items you didn't realize that you needed. That suddenly you're like, I do need maple bacon, chicken, sausage, whatever. I'm like, I didn't know this existed, but like, this is something I've needed.
I'll try it.
Yeah, literally. So like 2 weeks ago, I was meeting a buddy of mine at this like little Italian bakery, and there was a Trader Joe's parking lot that was free if you were a Trader Joe's customer, but otherwise it was like $20 an hour. So I was
Mm.
like, okay, like I'm just gonna park here and I'll go pick up a loaf of bread or something after I leave the bakery.
Okay.
Silly me. So I go into Trader Joe's and I go pick up my loaf of bread, and of course I like see all of the plethora of great items. And
Mhm.
right next to me, it's called pancake bread.
Ooh.
So pancake bread is essentially, it's like they've made like a buttermilk pancake like batter, but they've baked it into a loaf of bread.
Wow.
So it's like a sweet loaf, right? Brother, when I tell you, I sat down and I ate an entire loaf of bread that evening. I
Jesus.
was like, this is the play. I couldn't tell you the last time I ate a loaf of bread in one sitting. I felt so sick later, but I was like, I don't regret it. This was fire. This was great.
I got to go to Trader Joe's now, try to find that loaf.
I'm telling you, bro, pancake bread. Yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable. But you'll
I'm
go
not
in and still
surprised.
end up with like 20 different items. You're like, oh, I didn't know I needed tangerine juice, but here I am, you know.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, that's how it is when I went to get my nephew. It was his birthday on the 30th. Cookies, and my boy owns a place out here in Michigan, Dearborn. It's called Treat You Better, and I got a dozen, and I got there and I'm like, boy, I ate like 3 of them before I gave it to him.
You said it's like the dad tax, the uncle tax right there. Like,
and then yesterday I went hung out with my brother and he's like, yeah, he didn't eat any of the cookies. His mom did. She ate all of them. I'm like, they are that good. They are that good.
Gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, last thing I got for you here. Obviously, you got American Pro upcoming. You've got
Mm-hmm.
your own meet upcoming. What can people expect from you? What do you got moving forward? I know you're pitching a new brand. Kind of just give us the spiel.
Man, this year, I mean, a lot of people are new year, new me, but for me, I want to go at the same rhythm I went last year. I had a great mentality. I give myself a lot of props. And that's one thing people don't do as well. They don't give themselves credit when they do something good and they get through a tough year, so I give myself a lot of credit. Tattoos are usually what I give myself as a gift,
Yeah.
So I earned that one last year. But this year I want to go same route. I'm doing the Ghost Clash in February 19 in Miami. That one I'm hoping to get the world record squat, and hopefully if my grip stays intact and everything goes to well, go for the world record total as well at 242. And American Pro, I want to kind of do something crazy. I want to, if I hit my 2320 over 2320 this meet coming up in Ghost Clash, I would love to go above and beyond and get up the rankings, maybe beat John Hack,
Yeah.
So that's the big goal, man. I think I'm capable of it. I just got to put in the time, and I haven't. What people don't realize is the past 2 years I was in nursing school, so I never had the time to do my back offs. I never had time to do accessories. So
Right.
now I got the time. So we'll see how my body adapts to all the training that we'll be doing.
Yeah.
So
Well, man,
big things coming.
Best of luck with all that. I know everyone, including myself, will be watching, eager to see you perform. I have no doubt in my mind, with the assistance of pancake bread and a manwich, that all these dreams can come true. All these can come true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, folks, this has just been a great conversation. If you want to get a little bit more from Husam, you can find him at Husam the Gym Freak on Instagram. If you want more from me, you can find me at Big Mo Powerlifting or Faith Fitness Podcast. If you're listening to this on audio and you want to look at both of our beautiful mugs as well, you can go find this on YouTube. 100%. I see him throwing up a peace sign right now as well. But with that, folks, we will see you next week with Kevin Pitbull Torres.
I want to say one thing. So I honestly want to say I've done plenty of podcasts before, but I just want to thank you for having me on. And this was my favorite podcast because the many things we talked about was just not powerlifting. I love powerlifting, but I like to talk about it all the time. And you gave me the opportunity to talk about everything else besides powerlifting. So thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.